Hello, welcome to this week's podcast. My name is Trey Stewart. This is my very handsome co-host and husband, Mr. Zachary Luker.
Hello.
We are continuing part 2 of the conversation that we had last week with my friend Courtney Michalek and the lady that keeps my life together, Miss Lori Dixon.
All of our lives together.
And that's the truth. So, Zach, you asked a question before we stopped the last episode. I want you to kind of reiterate that.
So, how do you navigate a friendship, a supportive friendship, with someone who is spiraling?
I think part of it is you have to dig deep and be honest. Because when you've got someone that's going through something so drastic, or you also know about things that are happening around them, you have to be able to be gentle but honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've used this with you guys before. It's an old phrase, but it's be hip. It's an old 70s term, be hip. And what it means is you have to be honest in the process, because I can be supportive, but I can't lie to you.
Right.
And if
I
you lie,
can't
it's not
tell
helpful.
you.
It's not
No.
helpful.
And I will tell you, when you go through a divorce, you are losing identity.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on when it is in your life, for you, it was in that early 20s. Think of it. You're losing, you don't even have full identity yet. You're still developing identity. So while you were learning identity, you were losing identity. And so it was incredibly confusing. Like, what is my life? Do we have a life? Are we really married? What is that supposed to look like? And so you're already asking those questions. So your friends can help solidify where the honesty is, where the truth is for you, and not say, oh, sweetie, just be whoever you are, and we're going to love you. Because what
I don't
happens
have any of those
is,
friends.
thank goodness, thank goodness.
Well, and the reason I asked that question, too, is because there have been times that Courtney's called Trey, and they'll be on speakerphone, and I'm just, whisking away in the kitchen, and
I don't feel like I've spiraled that
Wow.
many times.
you had a few
A couple.
nights that, yes, you
I know,
did.
but I'm
It's
like,
okay.
And again, I said that
But
with
she
love.
recovered.
Yes, no,
This is
It's
not-
you
this
are,
is
normal.
not fun.
it's healthy.
Don't worry, you're
It's
helping
healthy.
others.
No, I will say, though, I think I have done a pretty good job.
Overall,
You have.
Gosh,
overall,
yes.
yes,
Your
I
spiral was
100%.
quick, and then you
yes.
bounce back
Yeah,
up.
you
Yes,
were-
you do.
I have
You were a
mini
very fast tornado.
spirals,
Yes.
mini spirals.
You were very fast
Still,
and skinny tornado.
You're more like a what is that? A dust devil in Arizona, where they
yeah.
go, all of a sudden they just pop up.
Everyone's like, what the hell is that?
It's dirt in the open desert, and there is no rhyme or reason, and all of a sudden it just pops up.
gone, and then
say
it's
that
gone.
part again. There was no
And then
rime
it's
or
gone.
reason, and
No, it's the
It's
weird,
like, what was
I
that?
know,
it's the weirdest
I
thing.
can't imagine. I can't relate.
No,
And
it's
so I
so
understand that, but there would be times you'd be on the phone and you'd be saying something, and Trey's like, yes, and I'm like, no.
Well, and that's where
I'm like,
Courtney
no.
and I...
Why would you encourage her to do that? That is.
I feel like though I have enough checks and balances in my life.
No, you-
like
again.
I have some friends that are like, absolutely not. Like that's a terrible idea. But I feel like Trey also though, I feel like he
Depends on if
checks me
I'm
a
like
little
down
bit.
to like join or not. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, we
It
should
depends on
go
if he
blow
wants
up
to turn
someone's
into a
house.
tornado himself or not.
Trey and Daniel definitely like feed into my crazy. They're like, yes, that you should absolutely do that. Like you should absolutely egg that person's car. You know?
And
Why
then
stop
2
there? Let's
hours
set it on
later,
fire.
they're going, why
And they're
did
like, why
you
would you
do
do
that?
I've never egged anyone's car, obviously.
No.
I'm like, why
Um,
would you do that alone?
Yeah, Trey's like, let me.
And meanwhile,
yes, let me
I'm
have
just there
this.
like, please
Let me
no.
drive you there.
Please
Let me
no.
drive you. He's like, well, yes, let's go immediately.
But let's TP it, or let's
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
caution tape
Yeah, that's,
all
that's
over
where
it.
Trey is troublesome. Yeah, he's like, perfect. I'm already on the way.
I stopped for supplies.
He's like, I already got what we need. He's like, I already
Zach's
have
gonna
them
be
in my
so mad.
trunk.
We're out of toilet paper at the house
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Zach's like, where are the 500 rolls of toilet paper I just bought at Costco?
Yes, exactly.
But no, it is. It's weird, you guys. I'm like the best way. It's like it's like I'll be totally fine, and then like I'll be walking outside and
No,
I'll
yeah.
see like a pebble on the ground, and it'll remind me of something, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be alone. How many times have I called you, Trey, and been like, I'm going to be alone and old
Too many.
with my animals?
But have you found?
And I'll get more cats.
And I'll get, and then
Yeah.
I consider getting, like, that's where I struggle is like, one day I'll be like, I need a baby. And then I'll be like, no, I need a puppy.
Yeah,
And then I'm
I
like,
need
it's
both.
a cat. And then I'm like, no, I absolutely need absolutely none of these things. Like, who in their right mind would give me a baby, a puppy, or a cat right now? I would take it.
That's
So
why
has
they're
it been?
screaming.
Has it been as bad as you thought it was going to be?
You know, I'm in such a good place, like, at this present moment. So that's kind of hard. But it's like, I look back, it's so weird. And it's kind of hard to, like, verbalize some of this. But I remember sitting in some of these hardest moments being like, I want to remember this so that, like, I never forget it, so that I can learn and in a weird way, like, be appreciative of these really hard moments.
Yep.
And then, like, the highs where, like, gosh, preparing to tell him that I wanted a divorce was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. I do not wish that upon anyone. Like, that was the hardest. Oh, horrible.
But would you say he saw that
remember.
coming?
Yeah. Yeah, probably. And again, I can't speak for him, but I would say yes, probably. But I think I had to be the one to do it, which is, you know, for what, a million reasons. Because, you know, it's funny. One thing the therapist told us when we went together was, you know, Courtney, you have to realize one thing. You're here because of your problems. He is happy with his life the way that it is. And so you're here because, you know, somebody else thinks you have all the problems. And I don't know, that just kind of like always resonated with me because it was like, oh, interesting. Maybe that's why he's not understanding when I'm saying something about this or that's bothering me or that's bothering me. And so it's just really interesting, like, to kind of see how someone else sees the situation. And I think we always think, well, you should just know that, or you've known me long enough. Like, why can't you read my mind?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, and Lori, you have helped me so much with communication and seeing the other side of things. I think that's one of the best things in this is, like, yeah, you have to remember, like, it's not always just about you.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit, about you. And I think that half the time we create these problems because we think, oh my gosh, everyone's thinking this. Like, no, everyone else is worried about their own lives.
They are.
And that's so important because I was just like, oh, he's doing this, and this because he it's like, no, he didn't think any of that. And so that was one of the biggest things is that you kind of have to get out of your own head, but you really have to see the perspective of how someone else could be feeling. Or, yeah, okay, maybe I think he's reacting this way because that's how I would do it. And that's, you know, because of feeling a certain way. But no, that's not the case at all. He's reacting that way because he doesn't see this situation at all, or he doesn't even think about this situation. He's thinking about golf and stuff.
You know, that brings up a really good thing, and I want to share this. This week, I wrote a post on social media about perspective. Because every step that we take during our life, we have actually two perspectives. And we look at it from our perspective and all those experiences that we've had to lead to that perspective, the individuals, the childhood experiences, the other divorces that have impacted us. If you think of all those things standing behind you, it is what leads you to look at something through your own lens. Then you see that other person sitting there, and you need to think of all those people that are standing behind them, that are creating and supporting their own reality.
Interesting.
And so when you think about that, no wonder sometimes that we try to have communication with each other, and it's like we're talking two different languages. And we want to say, but you're not hearing me. You're not seeing what I'm telling you. They can't unless you provide a picture around it. And so I will say, and I'm going to be a little quick disclosing of myself because I've done this with you before. I was younger than you when I first got married. And I was like right out of my parents' home. I got engaged at 19. I was still in college, but there were so many things going on in my life that were pushing me to go ahead and want a relationship so that I could create my own reality. And so when we're young like that, we're grabbing at identity. We want to have our own perspective on life. And so I ended up getting married at 20. And so I was super naive, super young. And within 2 weeks after getting married, I said to a colleague that I trusted, I wish I had never gotten married. I do not know who he is. I stayed married almost 9 years. And I got to a point of I invested so much time and effort, so much of growing up that my husband was rarely there. So I saw it as like a 9-year degree in relationships. I had great friendships. I had a great faith. So I was around a lot of good friends in church.
So you were brought up that way.
Yes, I didn't need him. I just needed him to come home periodically to solidify the fact that we had our own space.
Interesting.
And so I learned through all 9 years. But when you get to that place, when you're done, and let me add, I was the first divorce out of all the families. So I was the black sheep, okay? But when I decided that it was time, I pushed it so far to the edge that I did it on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Never wanted him to forget you.
That's right. And I could not handle any more of another year of us being together, going through all the things that we had lived through that year. And so internally, I said to myself, this is when I'm going to be done. And I'm going to close that chapter, and I'm going to go into the new year with a whole new view. And so that's when I reclaimed my identity. That's what you're doing right now. You're reclaiming what you learned over the longer course of what is a relationship, who am I, who do I want to be? Gosh, I can be completely stable. I don't need that individual. I can live on my own. I know how to do this. And I've chosen the friends around me that I'm going to keep in my life.
I love
You've reclaimed your life.
And again, like, it really has, it doesn't so much have so much to do with him, right? Like, we are all responsible for our own happiness. And I think I did too. Like, we rely on other people, on our spouses, on our partners. And yes, of course, like, to a degree, yes, like, they make us happy and all these things. But it's like, at the end of the day, one of the biggest takeaways is like, I'm responsible for my happiness. I can't put that on anyone else. That is no one else's responsibility. We can come together and both bring our happy and be extra happy together. But to put all this pressure on someone else to bring that to you, I think is a big problem. And, you know, I think I was at fault to some degree for that. And at the end of the day, like, I know that we both gave each other the most that we could. You know, he loved me in the way that the best way that he could. And I used to be so upset about certain things, and I finally realized, like, no, I'm not. He did the best he could, and whether or not he chose to do more or less, like, whatever, it doesn't matter, because it just didn't work for me. And I could either stay again and be okay with that and not be mad, or I could be an adult and say, Courtney, put your big girl pants on, do the hard stuff, and go and find what really is going to make you happy, because it's also not fair to keep expecting something out of someone that they're not capable of giving you.
Yes.
You know, and I think that when I've learned these things, it was like the biggest light bulb. And I just like all this knowledge and like this wisdom that I've amassed from all this sadness. I'm like, every day I'm like, I'm so thankful. I know that sounds silly, and I know that you guys hear me say this all the
totally
time.
No.
agree.
One thing
Totally.
that changed my life, I feel like I was so sad all the time, and I was constantly living in this like life of lack, and I would see people that were happy, I would see people in love and like kissing and all these things, and I would be like jealous. And I hated that because that's not who I am. Like I love, I love to cheer for other people, and I just remember being like, ew, I hate this version of myself. Like I would see like my friends doing well and being in love, and like a small part of me would be like jealous, and I was like, I hate that. I don't even know who this person is.
I think that was maybe the hardest part from a friend side is like coming back with the disclaimer of like, hey, that's not like who she is. Don't, just like, because that wasn't who you were. And I knew that's not where you wanted to be, but it's like, hey, this is just where she's at in life right now.
Yeah.
I promise you, give her some grace here because it's.
I needed
true.
a lot
And
of
I think,
grace.
we talked about it earlier, maybe on the last episode too, of it's not about what other people think. Like, so for instance, I don't think that you knew that I really liked the way that you and Brian's relationship was when I first met you. I was like, I liked that you guys are able to do separate things. And I keep saying that not as like
that's
that
still,
I don't.
still such a great
No, right.
characteristic. Like, love
But then
that.
you look at Trey and I in a sense, and you're like, I guess lack of a better word is like just jealous, but like you envy things that are in our relationship, and we even envy things that are in your relationship, and it's you don't always realize that.
Yeah,
and there's no perfect, there's no
Yeah.
perfect marriage regardless. You know, you can have very happy marriages, but there's never going to be the book of this is a perfect marriage.
And it's so funny because people, when I would say it, when I would like talk to certain people and I was just starting to do this, they'd be like, well, Courtney, like there isn't a perfect marriage. And I'm like, oh, I'm well aware. But I'm also like, listen, honey, I'm going to fight for the best freaking marriage or the best relationship. Like that's who I am, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. You know? So it's like people are like, well, there's never, it's like, no, but I know that there's more, and I need more in certain, regards. And so now it's like, I finally feel like I look at people and I'm like, instead of being like, oh, wish I had that, or like wish, it's like, oh, hell yeah, I love
You
that.
add that to like your list of non-negotiables
I am.
for
I'm
the
like,
next.
I love that. Like,
Yes.
that's what, yes, I can have that. Or like, I am. But again, so one of the things that totally changed my life from going from this living in lack and like being so negative all the time is I was on Instagram, and there was this lady, and she was just talking about how the power of like positivity and positive thinking and manifestation and all these things. And she was like, I wake up every day and I say, I'm Courtney Michalek, and great things happen to me. And I was in such deep place, and I was like, that's easy enough. That is easy enough. I can literally imagine putting that foot in front of the other, and I can start there. And I'm like, okay, Courtney, you're gonna wake up every day, and you're just gonna say that phrase.
It's also how she answered the phone for a while.
I literally,
And I was like, okay.
anyone that would listen, I'd be like, I'm Courtney Michalek, and great things happen to me. They do, I swear. And but it's weird. It,
Stay around long enough, I'll prove it to you.
Right? But it's crazy. And to this day, like even when, like my bad days recently, like haven't been as bad as they were before because I just think about it differently, and I'm like, that's okay. Thank you. I'm like, all right. That's all right. Thank you so much for whatever this is teaching me. Thank you, like hit every red light. You know what? Thank you for protecting me from whatever was going to happen if I had gone through all of these with green lights.
Did you have any negative reaction from friends when you told them about this?
Not a single one.
Really? Lori, did you?
When I told them I was getting divorced, yes. And you have to remember, it was many years ago now, and divorce wasn't quite as prevalent. And in the circles we were in, divorce was hard. And I have to tell this. There was a women's group, small women's group, that was at our church. And it was for women all over the community. It was just housed there. And it was called Tissues and Chocolate. And I'll never forget it. I can still see everybody sitting around. I went once, and it was all women that had been divorced and had gone through some really tough stuff. And it helped me realize I didn't want to be that.
Mhm.
You didn't
I
want the
didn't-
tissues and the chocolate,
no.
damn it.
I don't want
We
to
don't need
walk
that.
around and carry the banner. Guess what? You know, I'm getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Feel sorry for me or shun me. You know, I decided to carry a different banner.
Yeah.
And so I developed back then, and it's something I tell you all about all the time. I get up every morning, I dedicate my day to a person or a thing or an action I'm in the middle of. And then I set my intention. And you were setting an intention. And it's, I am going to move forward today.
Yeah.
I am loved, I am cherished, I am cared about, and I am going to dedicate the actions of my day to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it literally catapults me forwards.
Yeah.
Because as you all know, there are many days I don't feel that way. And it is a hard push.
Yeah.
For me to be able to get up out of bed and to move forward physically. And so for me, doing that is the leverage. It's like that chair where you push a button and it lifts you out of
Yeah.
it.
It's like,
That's
get
what
on
I
up,
need.
girl.
You know? So for each of us, there's a little something different.
Yeah.
That worked for you because you started accepting the reality.
It was so simple, but like hands down was the most powerful thing for me. And again, because I couldn't handle much of anything else. And I saw that and was like, okay, that's simple enough.
Yeah.
I can do that. Like that's something I could commit to every day. Like I couldn't even commit to like reading a book. It just was too, in this weird way, it was too overwhelming. And that sounds so silly, but it was like, there's too much information, too much knowledge, and I'm trying to work through too much shit. Like I can't handle that. So it was like, but I can say this. And no, and I think, you know, of course, like I'll like have some self-deprecating moments. Like I like to make fun of myself a little bit. So I'll be like, oh, just the washed up divorcee here. But it's like, I really don't feel that. Like,
So how do you now move forward? And Lori, what is, I don't know, how do you not feel like the washed up divorcee, like you're damaged goods? How do you proceed with life in a new way?
I have to answer that in a couple of quick ways. One is, you're right, being able to laugh about where you've been. And little did you know, that was probably one of my phrases. Little did I know he was over here doing XYZ. You know, duh, let's keep moving. You know, you start finding out so much about yourself that you change your knowledge. And it catapults you forwards. And so eventually you're going to say, you know, going through all of that was totally worth it.
yeah.
Because for me, the second thing was to get out there and date. And I'm going to tell you this, and please
Use both ears to
excuse
listen.
me. Yes. But I made a deal with another girlfriend of mine who was going through the same exact thing at the same time. We decided to bond together. And so we created that pact. I decided I was going to date 50 guys over the summer.
Love it.
And it could be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, but it was
That was a busy summer,
way.
50.
Honestly,
Woo!
that
It
sounds
90 days.
exhausting. That sounds
Fun.
exhausting.
I am telling you, but it was summer, and being someone in therapy and education, a lot of what I did was shortened. So it gave me a lot of time to be able to do those things. So with that, I decided it was more about meeting 50 guys. I needed to understand, because I was so young, I didn't even know how to date. I didn't even know what
don't
was
know how to
out
date.
there. So I started saying, I'm like the meet and greet. You know, I'm like, I want to get to know them. And do you know, I had so many good guy friends by the end of the summer that were like, oh my gosh, you have got to meet my friend such and such. Because we ended up developing friendships. But I learned about me. I learned that they wanted to be friends with me. And then, yeah, there were some that were in love immediately, you know, and you're like, I
know what that's
know.
like.
Yeah. But what happened is it helped me develop my identity of who I wanted to portray out there and the type of guys that I wanted to allow myself to be around.
And the ones you don't.
That's right.
It's kind of like,
And it led me to art. You know, I mean, Art and I was single a very, very long time.
Really?
And I was engaged a couple times, but I
love
knew
that.
then
I was
it
engaged
wasn't
a couple
right.
times.
Yeah,
And
I
you
had
know,
a
gift
few.
is a gift. You get to keep it,
It
ladies.
is.
If
Let me
someone
tell
gives
you.
a gift, aka a
You
ring.
just keep moving.
It's
You know?
yours.
Courtney, how do you feel like dating is different now than it was for you 10 years ago?
Okay, well, I was a disaster probably at 20. So,
But like, I mean, now
dating-
there's like dating apps and like it's
Yes.
just a whole different playing field.
I kind of think about it like baseball.
Oh.
You know, you have to create a roster. Okay, you have a team.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and you're gonna have a certain amount of people on the team, right? And you've got people on the bench. Then you've got people in the minor leagues who are, you know, working up to get to the major leagues
Mm-hmm.
and to, you know, be on that bench. And then hopefully
This is not
on,
an endorsed
on that
method of
field.
coping.
on that field. So it's kind of like, you know,
It's
you're
like
going
my
to play
50
some of the
guys.
players more often than some of the others. You know,
Mhm.
you're going to maybe like the pitcher more than you like the first baseman. Wow, I don't know anything about baseball, so this is really impressive. And that's kind of how you look at it. You know,
Some of
it's
the
just-
opening
And you end
lines.
up with the
Some
shortstop.
are going to run.
Yeah.
You know what? Who's going to take me to the home run?
Yeah.
Or are you just going
There
to
you
go
go.
for
Oh,
one
my.
base?
Yep.
I don't know. So it's like, listen,
What about the 7th inning stretch?
I don't even know what that means. But
He gets that if he makes a home run. Maybe. I don't know.
it's a lot to make a home run. You know,
Some of
it's
your
not
pickup
easy.
lines are shocking the way that they work.
I also, it's terrible, but it's like, I just don't care. Like, I don't care if someone, like, I am not going into dating right now is like, God bless all of you. Like, just
See?
Godspeed, because like, I have nothing to lose. I don't
Mhm.
care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care if you think I'm whatever. Like, I simply don't care, because if I scare you now, it's never going
Just
to work.
wait.
Like, it's never going to work. Like, you think my comment was like wild then? Like, oh shit, honey, you had like that's
But that's the difference between you now and then.
exactly like I
Yes.
Because
probably
you did care.
would have been. Yes, I
Yes.
probably would have been much more self-conscious about things or whatever. And now I'm like, no, I know. I can confidently say I know what I bring to the table at this point, because I've worked really hard to work through those things. And, you know, I am going to need someone who I'm not looking to level down. I did not come this far and go through so much heartache and pain and all this stuff to like go like I'm
Or
leveling.
do it again.
I'm leveling up. And that means
Mhm.
that y'all are going to have to show up.
Do you think
Fight for my love.
it's going to be difficult
Sounds
because
like a new show.
you are very successful. You have a nice car, you have a very nice house, you have very nice things.
Scratched now
You-
thanks to Zip's car wash.
You-
Don't even get me started.
but you make your own money. You make very good money. Do you think that's going
that might have
to?
screwed me over a little bit.
Do you think that's going to be difficult finding people because you're so confident now in yourself that that's going to intimidate?
No, because the right man is not going to be intimidated.
Good
by that.
answer.
Well, and
He's going to come in and say,
I'm gonna buy you
I
more
love
Chanel
it.
bags,
I'm gonna
baby.
buy you a Birkin. And I'm going to be like, no.
I already bought it myself, but I want the orange
Yeah,
one.
I could buy it myself, but thank you. That's
Yep.
so sweet of you.
as long as your confidence doesn't turn into cockiness.
Yes.
No.
That's
And-
true.
But oh my God, that would be my worst nightmare. But I think when I'm going into this new chapter, like, listen, I'm just being vulnerable. Like, my
You're also
first
not
line is like, hey,
Accepting anything you don't want.
yeah,
Yeah.
and-
Which
and
is
I
which is
think-
great.
and I think
Exactly.
Yeah. No, 100%.
not to get into like a sexism thing here, but it's like when a man is
Mm-hmm.
assertive and cocky and all these things, are like, oh, he's successful, he's confident, and like, yeah, but when a woman is confident, it comes off as arrogance or like she's full of herself or whatever. It's like, no, I've just worked really
No, yeah, absolutely.
hard
Mhm.
to get here, and I've been through a lot of pain and heartache, and I'm just not looking to settle. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but then
But not
we're
really.
not meant to.
But I
be
will
together.
also say this: if the right guy aligned with you
Mhm.
and you were able to meet them and have a conversation with them, I don't care if you're a party or was introduced by friends, it doesn't matter. The right guy will already know that about you,
Yeah.
but they will be able to soften that so that you feel safe, protected. There's a different feeling of if I give you what I'm really thinking, you're going to treat it with kindness.
Yeah.
You're going to treat it with compassion for where I am right now.
Yeah.
They are willing to see that and see through that
Mhm.
because most divorced individuals, whether it's men or women, because it happens on both sides, as we know, doesn't matter what the relationship is. We all come off a little bit wounded. There is a point
sure.
where we protect. And so we have to understand we don't meet people where our protection is. We meet people with what we are willing to still have in our life.
Yeah.
And so when we are able to connect and laugh and tell stories or be vulnerable
Yeah.
or whatever that is, we let them in a little bit more. That's when that interaction
Yeah.
starts happening. So
Yeah.
know that it's, we all talk about it. Such and such is divorced and they've gotten really hard about life or they're different. They see life very differently now. Well, yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Think about what they've lived through.
And I don't think you really understand until you've done it. And I know
Yes.
that's such a hard thing to say, and I hate when people say that. But it's like I have a newfound appreciation for some of these things because, I absolutely someone's gonna need a little bit of a chisel to chisel away at some of the ice around my little heart. But there is going to be someone who's willing to do that. And vulnerability, there is nothing sexier than vulnerability
It's
in a
true.
man. And being
It's
able to
true.
be emotional. Because I think so many guys, they're like, emotions are bad. And, it's like, no, you have to be able to feel, to have compassion and empathy for someone.
Yep.
And now that, when I look at people now who have gotten divorced, I'm like, I truly, ugh, that sucks. But I'm also I think I looked at someone the other day, I said, I'm so excited for you.
Mhm.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you because I know how hard regardless of what happened, regardless who was right or wrong, it doesn't matter. If you've gone through it, I'm proud of you and I see you and you're going to be great. I'm so excited for you.
Well, and you've also been very good at supporting friends who have gone through a tough time and them and their spouse have figured it out and they've stepped off the ledge of divorce and been able to find resolution to make that work. And you've been able to be a supportive friend and you're not like, everyone should get divorced right now because I'm getting divorced.
No, I hate,
no.
and I think some people are like that. And I'm like, no, I do not need anyone else to be in this divorce pool with me. I don't want that for anybody else. But I'm also like, listen, if you're unhappy in a situation and you're doing something about it, I'm so proud of you. Whether or not that turns into, I don't care. I'm just here to support you in whatever way. And if you want my opinion about that, if you want to go that route, I will support you. If you don't, I will support you. If you want to go that route and you decide, nope, that's not for me and we're going to work it out, even better. I'm not one of those people who's like, I'm getting divorced, so everyone should get divorced. No, don't do it.
What I love is
Just don't
3
get
months
married.
ago, 3 months ago, you were like, I just need someone that's obsessed with me. And now you're like, these men are a little too obsessed with me. I'm like, well, gotta Gotta find a middle ground there. Thank you both so much for coming and opening up and sharing. I hope this was useful or at least comical for you. You can follow me on Instagram at Trey_Stewart.
You can follow me at Zach_Luker.
You can follow me at Courtney's World Dallas.
You can hit up her DMs too. She's looking for dates. Kind of, not really though.
Honestly, it's got to be a really good
Why don't
pickup
you
line.
Send them to me.
Yeah, you send them to Trey and I, and
I'll
we'll
tell you if it's good or
forward
not.
them on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
And
then
Lori?
go through me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we'll decide.
Yeah,
We'll
the
start-
counsel
we'll start a
with
group
Lori
chat.
prior
It's
because
filter.
Lori
It's a
knows me
filter.
very well.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, hey, this is never going to work.
You can follow Lori at Walk with Lori. Also, Lori, what's your website?
Walkwithlori.com.
There you go. Easy enough.
It's all easy.
Bye.
Bye.